Hi. What follows is a presentation which was given as part of the coursework for Introduction to Sustainable Development. It's a proposal to develop an ecotourism facility in the world's newest nation, South Sudan. It's just a few minutes long. I hope you enjoy it.
In 2006, the Wildlife Conservation Society discovered the second largest wildlife migration in the world in the Boma-Jonglei region of South Sudan. And it also discovered huge migrations of other antelope and elephant and lion and gemsbuck and many other species, and no one knew they existed. And the reason that no one knew they existed is because South Sudan has been involved in civil wars for decades. But just a couple of months ago, South Sudan finally gained independence. And one of the first things that the government of South Sudan did was they defined the parameters of the Boma-Jonglei region. Not only to protect the wildlife and the biodiversity, but to improve the lives of the people who live there. And the way they intend to do that is through the introduction of ecotourism. In this proposal, the Harvard Extension South Sudan Ecotourism Initiative is designed to do just that.
So ecotourism will introduce the international community to South Sudan in a way that will help protect this beautiful and unique ecosystem. So we've decided to place the target pilot facility right in the middle of the Boma-Jonglei. At the top we have a typical village of the Dinka and the Nuer, and then on the bottom corner you see the Merle, which is a pretty nomadic cattle herder. Cattle are a central source of livelihood and also conflict for all three of these tribes. So today South Sudan is one of the most poor countries in the world, but they have this amazing resource that will help give them the potential to become a world-class destination. Ecotourism will provide that economic boost and educate the international community and the local people how important it is to protect this resource, not only for today, but for generations in the future.
The income received from the project will reduce the locals' temptation to engage in alternative economic activities that destroy the environment, such as poaching and destructive agricultural and herding practices. Sustainable ecotourism will also prod out other potentially unsustainable businesses such as logging, mineral extraction, and energy. And finally, from an economic perspective, our project will spur economic development in many forwards and backwards linked industries.
Financial plan and budget, we realized that even more important than estimating costs or occupancy rates for the ecotourism lodge, what's even more important than that is setting financial guidelines to guide the initiative and meet the triple bottom line and ensure ongoing sustainability. And with South Sudan, obviously there's issues of corruption and good governance, as well as sort of the general equity that you want in a startup. Capital costs right now are estimated at about $300,000. And as we move into implementation, we would just call for phased growth so that the costs remain in line with the revenues.
If ecotourism is ever to take hold in South Sudan, it's going to require the collaboration of many different entities, several NGOs, the government of South Sudan, and the local tribal peoples. And in anticipation of that, we initiated an outreach program where we contacted all of those entities except for the tribal peoples. And the United Nations Development Program Global Environment Facility indicated that they would be happy to collaborate with us. Jane Kahara from the Sudan Transitional Environment Program and Robin Volby, the Regional Director for UNEP in South Sudan, offered their assistance to us. And Dr. Ali Kaka of the World Conservation Union also indicated that although the IUCN has not yet accepted South Sudan's application for admission into the IUCN, that they would be willing to collaborate with us once they establish a presence in South Sudan. And so there's widespread global support for ecotourism in South Sudan. But despite its independence, and despite the hope that it offers for future generations of South Sudanese, the future of South Sudan is still in doubt, Because if the peoples of South Sudan do not benefit directly from development, then South Sudan will inevitably devolve into just one more modern tragedy, a failed state. Thank you.
How do you envision actually managing the operation? And I asked the question just wondering what mechanisms will be in place to ensure that the communities will benefit, in fact, from this operation and that the environment won't be damaged.
This proposal is based on a model that's been developed in Namibia. It's been going on for more than a decade, called community-based natural resource management. USAID's been heavily involved. The World Wildlife Fund for Nature has been heavily involved. It usually involves a joint venture agreement between an ecotourism company and a local community. But there are lots of entities involved in monitoring things, providing training, providing assistance, and that's the model that we base this. I think that someone needs to step in and coordinate all this, because now there's a bunch of different interests. They all have the best things in mind, but no one. And I would like to add that this presents a tremendous opportunity for Harvard University to broaden its presence in Africa. I was told at one point that Harvard doesn't do Africa. Large presence in India, in Asia, Europe. This is a tremendous, once-in-a-century opportunity, for what that's worth.
We believe that this proposal represents an opportunity for the Extension School to become involved in a project which has unlimited potential, not only for improving the lives of the peoples of South Sudan and protecting the wildlife, but for research, for academic studies,